Yo! Video games.
It's time to talk about my top 10 games of the year. And again, 2025 was a pretty good year for games. I wouldn't say it was like one of the greatest years, but it was pretty good. I mean, looking back, there was definitely a lot of, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. And when I filled out a top 10 on my trusty board here. And I was looking at it, and when I was ranking it, I was like, wow, that I actually am going to have to rank this lower than I thought, or this actually didn't quite make it. So could have easily made a top 20. Easily could have made a top 20. And I think just sort of like, here's a couple games that I'm going to name off them right now. Like a couple games that didn't quite make my top 10, but I still feel were good. One would be, of course, Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. Not in my top 10, mostly just because it's a port. It's an expanded port. It's not nearly as crazy as, say, going from like Wii to Switch. This was going from Wii U to Switch, which they're pretty similar architecture wise. I mean, I don't want to diminish it because they actually added a lot of quality of life features. They added some stuff to the battle system to really make it feel better. And Chapter 13 is great. But we do in light of the fact that coming off of the trilogy, the main trilogy, and going to X, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, this game's pretty dry. It does have a nice sandbox approach. I do think it is a game for a certain audience, and I think those who love it will always, there's a lot there for people who love that style of game to sink their teeth into. But yeah, Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, that's definitely a honorable mention for top 10 for me. Another one is South of Midnight. Great graphics, great art, good story, really good music, but the combat was a little too basic and it was a little too obvious where the story kind of just, there was supposed to be a last. I don't know anything about the development of a game, but man, is it weird to see a game where you can just visually see with no knowledge that, yeah, there was supposed to be a last level here. It got cut. And the story just kind of got like, we just kind of had to wrap it up. It feels like they ran out of time. But it's still a very good game. Other games that didn't quite make it is Peak. And Peak is a lot of fun, but Peak 1 is sort of, it's hyper dependent on having people. You can play it solo, and that's fine, but the other problem with just like it's kind of designed around a specific multiplayer user experience is that the RNG, since it resets its map every day, you could end up with just a terribly designed level or just a completely unfun level, and then sometimes it'll be a fun level, good challenge, no challenge. Like the random nature actually I feel can be sort of detrimental, where like for a whole 24-hour block of time the game could not be any fun to play. So that's just the nature of the beast. So yeah, Peak was definitely an honorable mention, though. Definitely one of the best of the cheap friendship games that's coming out. Doom, the Dork Ages, a lot of fun, but they kind of replaced Rip and Tear with Parry and Bonk. And I like parrying and I like bonking, but something left something to be desired. Like I think getting rid of the glory kills mostly hurt it. Yeah, there is technically glory kills, but highly scaled back. There's basically like a few, and you're gonna see a lot of stuff repeated over and over. So not quite the crazy tight level, fast-paced level design experience that, say, Doom 2016 was, and definitely not the cracked out experience Eternal was. Definitely tried to go for a more grounded thing, and it works, but it's also just good. It's really good. I mean, I think it's worth playing, but maybe not top 10 material. And same goes for both sets of new Ninja Gaiden games. Although, to be fair, I think Ragebound is like a straight up 9 out of 10. I think Ragebound is very, very good. But it was like, this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Almost made my top 10. But like it played, it was just a somewhat, I don't know, it just felt good, but also kind of safe. I don't know. Like, it didn't impact me as hard as maybe, say, some other games. Ninja Gaiden 4, also very good. Shows that Platinum still got it, but not quite. Definitely has some issues. Like, the levels go on way too long. I bet you could exercise a third of the game out of it, and it would have been a better game overall. Like, it's just way too excessive. with some of its levels and some of its checkpointing. But it's still a very good game, very good soundtrack. And the last game I'll mention, honorable mention, that did not make my top 10 was Ghost of Yotei. And it's a very good game. It's a very pretty game, but there's some strange design decisions, namely the omission to have any control over the weather, which it's just very weird, which basically, like, for a game built around its environmental beauty, seems to constantly want to restrict you seeing that environmental beauty. It's also a very iterative sequel. Like, the fact that you have different weapons didn't add as much as you would have thought it would have. Instead of stances, you have different weapon types, but they more or less function almost identically. They still function on the sort of, like, rock, paper, scissors, or this is weak to that system. So the combat wasn't as refined as I was hoping. The story, it's a basic revenge plot, and it's fine. It's well acted. It's, obviously, again, beautiful. But there's also weird things where it absolutely, completely drops the ball on some major historical things. There's I don't want to say revisionism, but it is kind of revisionism, where they went out of their way to show the Ainu people, but they completely neglected, almost willingly pretended that, like, the reason the Masamune clan was up there, actually I think I just said the clan's name wrong, but the reason the Imperial Japan sent a clan of shogun or clan of samurai up to Hokkaido at the time was to directly deal with the Ainu people, and they in this game they make up a fake rogue samurai army, and the Imperial Japan is up there for that reason. They have nothing to do. So there's this kind of, like, really ugly, like, you're ignoring real history and the real reason things were there, and that's kind of hard to ignore for me. And again, it knocks it down a peg for me for a game that prides itself so hard on being very very much like detailed in its background, to get such a humongous part, important part of that part of the country's history, just to sort of, like, pretend, just leave it alone, like, don't address it at all. It's big for me. I'm sorry, I'm a history guy, so yeah, that really hurt it for me. And again, it's more Ghost, which is good, but it's also it's more Ghost, but I don't get to control the weather. I have to basically look at miserable Pacific Northwest weather almost the whole time during my gameplay, and I couldn't change it. And even when the sun does come out, the game almost looks like a generation ahead graphically. But yeah, like that, just the historical revisionism, and the combat not being that much better, and just sort of like the lack of other options kind of knocks it down a little bit. I was really anticipating it was kind of my most anticipated game from Sony first party, and it's still good and it's still fun and I enjoyed it, but is what it is. But that's enough talking about honorable mentions. Let's talk about games. Let's talk about games that I did play, because heck, that's more important anyways. That's why we're here. We're here to talk about the games I did play. So number 10 is Metroid Prime 4. Now, this is a game with some issues, and funny enough, as a recording of this video, we're actually learning a lot more from Famitsu interviews and other YouTube content creators, interviewing other ex-retro people. And yeah, we're basically getting the pictures becoming clear here, how this was sort of a cursed project. There was a lot of really weird ideas that NCL specifically wanted, and kind of like decided to stick to their guns on keeping, which a lot of Metroid fans aren't really happy with. I'm okay with most of it. Here's the thing. I think at the end of the day, Metroid Prime 4 is a very good sci-fi adventure game. Metroid Prime 4 is not a good Metroid game. What makes Metroid is not really here, almost at all. And I can acknowledge that, and I can understand for, say, a Metroid aficionado to be kind of upset over that fact, and it makes sense. I get it. It's not, they're not wrong. Like, this is very much almost an anti-Metroid game. And again, all the new ideas, all the ideas to have a hub world and have an expanded roster, like, they don't always hit. They really don't always land. But they're also not as bad as things always were, on the other hand, because there is stuff in this game. Like, yeah, there's a really boring scavenger hunt at the end of this game, but it's actually not as bad as say the Great Sea and Wind Waker. And I've seen far worse and far more dialogue from characters I want to rip apart. Like, these characters were fine. I actually kind of enjoyed them. But yeah, there's some very strange design decisions in this game. They don't always work. But for just having a game that was just a really cool, very atmospheric. I'm a big atmosphere guy, and this game like really nailed its weird atmosphere, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful in a way we never see Nintendo games usually look, and I enjoyed it. I just enjoyed my time with this game. I didn't love the game more than anything. It's definitely not my favorite Metroid Prime or anything, but it was a solid, good, fun time, and I enjoyed this game, and I think it's worth playing. I enjoyed it. It's my number 10. But yeah, like, and speaking of games that are probably still not perfect, but they're a lot better than they were. Number 9 for me is Yooka-Replaylee. I thought Yooka-Laylee was a good game, a decent game, if you will. It had some issues, but most of them were things that like people who don't like 3D platformers just don't like about 3D platformers, period. But Yooka-Replaylee being like a sort of full-on definitive edition of Yooka-Laylee, it took a good game and made it a great game, especially for fans of 3D platformers. Like the changes, the quality of life, the redone music, the orchestrated music, everything is just really good now. Like, this is like a really good, solid 3D platformer. This is way more closer to, and again, all the additions of new mini games and new game modes and everything. Like, this feels like this was the game I think they wanted to make, or the game people had in their heads when the Kickstarter first went up. And now it's like, now we have the game we were envisioning, the game we wanted is kind of here now. I really enjoyed it. It's a really breezy game. They kind of, like, interestingly, like, they doubled the number of collectibles, but they didn't make it, they didn't do anything to make, they didn't increase the requirements to progress in the game. So in other words, it's kind of like someone said, hey, now there's 240 stars in Super Mario 64. But guess what? You still only need 70 to go to the final Bowser. You still only need like 8, to unlock 7 or 8 to unlock the first Bowser level. It's like they didn't increase the requirement to progress. They just doubled how many you could get in every level. And that was actually kind of cool, because now it's like, cool, I can just run around, get as much as I want, progress at the pace I want to, and not be like stuck in an area. So I thought this was a really, really well done, really well thought out kind of reimagining. It basically made Yooka-Laylee the game it was supposed to be. I really liked Yooka-Replaylee. I thought it was basically like this is a game I would recommend wholeheartedly to anyone who loves 3D platformers. Is it like, say, on the level of like Astrobot? No, of course not. But it's still a lot of fun. I enjoyed my time with the game a lot, and I don't think it's a ton of money. I don't think it's full priced. But yeah, great game. I had a lot of fun with this, but it is a 3D platformer, and if you're not really into the 3D platformers or that vibe or its genre or just basically like its humor style, I don't know if it'll do anything to change your mind on that. But I think it's a really good time for anyone who is a fan of the late '90s games of its genre. So yeah, Yooka-Replaylee. What a nice turnaround. Number 8 for me. We're getting a little more personal here, and that is Sword of the Sea, the third game from Giant Squid. This is a wonderfully beautiful game. Again, the pedigree from these developers is impeccable. It's following up on the sort of loosely connected inner narrative set forth with Abzu and the Pathless. This is basically in between there, where Abzu was just pure vibes, and Pathless was a bit of an action game with combat. This is somewhere in between. So it's basically a hoverboarding game. You hoverboard around and you basically just progress the game. It's very short, and that's totally fine. I think there's something to be said for just a really solid quality, multi-hour experience, that doesn't really go beyond 5 hours, if that, but just gives you just a great time the whole way through. So absolutely beautiful game, of course. And I have to really, really emphasize the score by Austin Wintory is immaculate in this game. One of the best soundtracks of the year, no doubt in my mind about that. I really like the game. I do feel that maybe there could have been a little more something to the puzzles or challenges a bit. I don't really necessarily. I'm not going to complain. Again, I'm not complaining about the length, but some of the platforming and quote unquote puzzle challenges were almost too easy in my mind. Where it was just kind of like, okay, like this feels very obvious what you're supposed to do. But regardless, this is one of those like, okay, it was short, it was sweet, it was beautiful, it sounded amazing. Like there really was not really any flaws with this one. This was just a great time, start to finish. You know, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And I definitely think Sword of the Sea nailed that perfectly, and I really enjoyed this game. But again, I'm an environment guy, so I'm big on games with great atmosphere, great music. So, and Giant Squid once again delivering in spades. So yeah, number 8 was Sword of the Sea. And that leads us, of course, to number 7. This is where, okay, now we're starting to get into games. I'm like, I can't believe I had to put these games like so low, but here we are. And number 7 is Split Fiction. The next, the newest game by Hazelight, the next co-op adventure game. Where, of course, you play as two aspiring writers who get stuck in their own VR worlds between fantasy and sci-fi, and they have to basically make it out of their own headspace, their own creations. And it's a very, very good game. Just solid start to finish. The best, again, once again, the co-op challenges are great. Like the way it integrates seamlessly, and even some of the tricks they pull off, even in the end game is amazing. The one thing that is a little weird on this game is that for some reason you have 2 competitive characters that don't have the competitions. They don't have the mini games from It Takes Two. That's kind of like the one weird thing about this game, is that it's like you even see moments where like there was probably supposed to be a competitive meeting, like a race or a shooting gallery or something, and they just don't have it. It's really bizarre, like that somehow they're missing the weird mini games from It Takes Two. But either way, the actual journey is fantastic. It's one of the best running games on the cursed Unreal 5 engine, where it runs almost without a hitch completely. And yeah, it's just a fun time. It's just a fun experience going through it. Again, it's not necessarily breaking new ground but what it does have is it does have variety. It does, variety in its worlds, variety in its scenarios, mostly in its scenarios, because even though they are different variations of science fiction and different variations of fantasy, they do feel a little homogenized a little bit. If there's one thing, it's like even with the different fantasy worlds, it does feel like they're pretty similar. And the sci-fi is kind of bounces between that a little bit too, where it's like it's Mass Effect and it's Blade Runner, and it's not really much between those. So loved the game though. Absolute joy to go through this game. Me and Nadia, we played all the way through it, and we just had a great time. So it definitely top 10. I knew right away it was going to be top 10. I even wondered if it was going to be GOTY when it first came out. It was that good. But here we are at number 7. The one thing though is I'm not a really huge fan of games that sort of require another player. And this, from what I understand, you can play this game single player. But again, it is a game built for co-op, so you need to have someone at the ready. They do everything they can to make it. They have a friends pass thing where like only one person needs to own a copy of this game, the other can just download it and play with you, and that's pretty great. But it is kind of an experience that's like has to be 2 people, just kind of has to be, and that's cool. But like it does kind of like. I always kind of feel a little weird about that. I have to recommend a game to people who may not have anyone to play with. So asterisk there. But yeah, that number 7 for me was Split Fiction. Number 6, I think, was the biggest surprise and shock for me completely. And number 6 for me is definitely going to turn some heads. But my number 6, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Yeah, this is another one of those like, okay, I thought this might be Game of the Year when it came out, and it was a really good time. It is a quality game, and the flexibility, the imagination, the sort of what you can do in this game is incredible. There's an incredible amount of mobility and options and stuff. But the problem is it has a little bit of an RE6 issue where you have this amazing control and you have those abilities and options, but the levels don't really always match up to it. You get a lot of sort of just floating blocks, and the level design doesn't really match the creativity of the mechanics, of the control options and that stuff. So if there's any, and again, the middle of this game starts to wane a little bit, and it really picks back up in the end. Has a really fun end game for those who've been with the series for a while. But like the actual there is a slight disappointment here where the level design and the music doesn't really match its heights. It's kind of like the highs of this game are very high, but then the lows are kind of just not bad, but just sort of kind of middling in a way you kind of didn't expect them to be, didn't really want them to be, but really good time. Obviously, it's the best game. It's the best exclusive game on the Switch too. So it's still like one of the better reasons to own the system. But yeah, and again, is it say like the best 3D platformer that came out this year? Absolutely. What is on the creativity is there. Like the amount of things you can do is incredible. Like the digging mechanic and the voxel technology really does work, and it works really well. But I'd be lying if I was going to say like this is one of the best Donkey Kong games. I'd be lying if I said I like this more than Retro's offerings. I don't. I don't like this more than Rare's games. I don't like it more than Retro's games. I do like it plenty fine. I do think it's really good, and there's some really amazing ideas here. But I think it stumbled a slight bit on the level design. That being said, I had a good time playing it start to finish. Again, a little starting to get a little bored in the middle of the game, unfortunately. But like again, this was a good time. And don't let what I'm saying dissuade you from thinking it's not a great game. It's number 6, after all. But yeah, I was kind of expecting this to maybe be an easy number 1, but it's still just a really good time either way. But yeah, Donkey Kong Bonanza was number 6 for me this year. So that moves us on to number 5. So we're already in top 5. And this one caught me by surprise. And I noticed one other person also put it in their top 10, but I don't think a lot of other people have played this one. And that's Neon Inferno. This is a run and gun that basically combines Contra and Wild Guns together in this absolutely gorgeous pixel art game. Wonderful co-op, but you can also play just as easily single player. This game is just the perfect length, not too long, doesn't wear out its welcome, just looks incredible, sounds incredible, has really cool level art design, just constantly just wowing you with its pixel art, its sprite-based art. It's just a really good, fun time. There's not much in the way of weapon upgrades, and I think that was done because there is so much you can do, because you can shoot in the background, the foreground, you can reflect bullets, you can bullet time wanted curve bullets. And there is a basic upgrade between levels where you could buy another weapon with limited ammo. But yeah, this game is just this is just the perfect length of what this kind of game is. It's about the length of a classic Contra game, and just really amazing art, really amazing music, and just the gameplay is just solid and fun start to finish. This was. I have no notes. It's one of those things where it's like no notes. Maybe I wish I got to use some of the the extra guns more. But again, that's what the replay there is for. Is okay, well this run buy this gun instead of that gun. But it's weird that there's no ammo in level to refill the secondary guns you buy at the shop, but they're kind of just meant to be a quick power up. But yeah, just incredible art, incredible sprite based graphics, incredible soundtrack. It's really fairly priced. And it's just one of the best games I played this year, bar none. And again, me and Nadia went through this game, an amazing co-op experience. But you're going to have almost as good of an experience single player, which I can't say for Split Fiction. So yeah, this was an incredible game. Is this might be a bit of like, maybe this is kind of an old man boomer kind of thing, whatever. But whatever, I don't care. I wish more games were like this. I wish more games were priced like this. I wish more games were length were like this, because save the long form, giant, lore dump games for the Xenoblades, but for games that are trying to be these beautiful, throwbacks to the classic era of arcades and Contra and NES, this is the perfect length for them. So yeah, love Neon Inferno. Absolutely my number 5, and I think everyone should check it out. So my number 4, oh boy, here we go. Number 4 game of the year for me, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. What can I say about this game that hasn't been said? I was one of the earliest champions for this game when no one was talking about it, because nobody watches the Xbox Game Showcase. But yeah, before this game came out and took the world by storm, I was the one trying to get people excited and hyped for it, and I wasn't really let down for the most part. Again, this is a game where some people are like, oh, it's revolution. It straight up, I'm going to be real, it didn't do anything new for its genre. It didn't revitalize a genre. All it did was brought mainstream attention because some people are allergic to hand-drawn art. All that being said, it did what I wanted to do, which was it took turn-based battles, it made them fun, it made them interesting, it put skill in turn-based combat, where so much of the time turn-based was mostly about strategy or just raw grinding. Just raw, just like, just power level, just grind a lot. This game took that away. It had a really, really good, maybe one of my favorite all-time turn-based combat battle systems, because of the dodging and the parrying mechanics. And it took a page, took a page from Mario and Luigi and Mario RPG. And it took what was great about those and was great about games like Final Fantasy X and Materia System from a 7. It's like it was a stew. It was a brilliant stew of just taking what worked in late 90s, early 2000s RPGs and just making a game like that again. Again, this is not a game that revitalized anything. It didn't save anything. It was just a wonderful stew of all the things that were great, spread across many games in the genre, and just put them all together and just made an amazing game. And of course, the soundtrack, Lorien Test Art, is an amazing accomplishment for the music. Again, the game looks beautiful. It plays great. The only really issue I have with this game is the third act just doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't. Like I feel like not that anything is necessarily bad or wrong, or I'm not even upset. I'm just kind of like, it just feels kind of like a bit of a wet fart of an ending. Either ending, I don't feel either ending are very satisfactory. That's kind of rough to say, but this is a your mileage may vary kind of thing, and I don't think it's really fair to like judge a game based on entirely on did you like the ending or not, because some people are actually going to totally gel with one of the two endings. I thought neither one were really that good. I thought they were both kind of like endings, and I think a lot was I think there was a lot left on the table. I feel like the game kind of fridged its nearly its entire cast for the third act in a really weird way. But again, these are sort of like my personal takes. Why is it all the way down at 4 instead of like, at the top? And it's like, well, the fridging of its main cast, besides them, like the main two, like really does put a damper on things. Then either ending not being anything all that. But all that being said, the gameplay was there. The post game was there. Obviously the art. We know the music. Lorien again, amazing debut for Lorien Test Art. And this was obviously, this is a game that it got its flowers, deserves them. Its fan base is insane. I've never seen a game so quickly generate such a huge, ravenous, and annoying fan base as this game. It's a great game. Didn't save anything. It didn't revolutionize anything. It just was like, it just looked at all the ingredients of all these great other games and said, let's put it into a stew and make a great stew. And it did it. It did its job. I like this game a lot, but it wasn't my favorite game this year. Shockingly enough. And that will have to go. So we're now in my top 3. Number 3 for me is Shinobi, Art of Vengeance. Unlike Clair Obscur, which was okay, take a bunch of great games that are already great and mix up their gameplay. Shinobi was I'm going to breathe not just new life with just art and graphics into the Shinobi franchise. I am going to expand this franchise. I am going to up the stakes. I'm going to up the ante because it basically took Shinobi, which was sort of like a run and bop kind of game, very much like a sort of like one of the slower, stiffer, unless you were like run and bop games of the past where you just kind of like run, throw a throwing knife, and then just kind of move forward. And it added this whole combat system to it. Now, some of the levels are a bit long, but there's generous checkpoints and instant fast travel. But yeah, this game, obviously, I don't need to say anything about the way it looks. It looks incredible. It sounds incredible. You got T. Lopes and you got Yuzo Koshiro on deck, for the soundtrack, which is great. And what it did is it added a whole massive combat system on top of crazy platforming challenges, where the first games had platforming, but they were wonky platforming in the old Shinobis, and this one is like really good platforming with crazy, almost like Celeste or other like indie platformer crazy challenges. Shinobi Art of Vengeance, it to me is the best damn Shinobi game ever made. It plays the best, it controls the best, it feels the best, it looks the best, it sounds the best. This was like I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take whatever I'm gonna take the tune of Shinobi and I'm gonna crank this motherfucker to 11. Absolutely, I loved this game. At the end of it, I was just like in awe. There is one specific tiny optional area where the platforming challenge was insane. And I'd almost argue maybe not greatly designed, but y'all know what it is. But that wasn't even necessary. And again, this was just an incredible game, incredible experience, incredible combat system. Just did everything, just took Shinobi and made it. It made the Shinobi game your 10-year-old brain saw in your head. If you were a kid in the 90s and you were looking at Shinobi in the arcade or on the Genesis, Mega Drive, or everywhere else, and this is the game you saw in your head. This is the dopest shit ever kind of game. This is what you saw in your head as a kid growing up. This brought Shinobi. This made Shinobi one of the best fucking franchises that Sega has. I love the game for it. This was absolutely phenomenal experience. Loved this game almost the whole way through. So Shinobi Art of Vengeance, number 3 for me. Number 2, since we're already there, pretty similar. Also, the other half of the Streets of Rage 4 developers, and with Guard Crush Games, and that is Abselum. Shinobi kind of revitalized a franchise. Abselum revitalizes a genre. Now, there's been a lot of beat 'em ups, so I can't really say revitalizes, but like Shinobi, what Shinobi did for its franchise, this does for the whole damn genre. There's been way too many roguelikes already, but the combination of beat 'em up and roguelite works so well here, and a big part of that is that just the basic raw mechanics of this beat 'em up also work. With your arcana magic, your light attack, heavy attack, and it has a dash dodge / parry mechanic. So you have mobility options within it just naturally, and then you get all these editabilities, and it's doing roguelike correctly where you can kind of make anything work for you. You don't get like absolutely 100% screwed on runs. I've had runs where I thought I was screwed, and then I did way better than I thought I would. But yeah, Abselum is a game that's like, okay, it looks great. Gareth Coker does the soundtrack from same composer from Ori, one of the best soundtracks of the year. Just an absolutely amazing game, and you can you could play it start to finish, co-op or single player. And it's just as good either way, maybe even better. Obviously, probably better. Oh, it is better. Come on, who am I kidding? It's way better to play this game. It's way better to play this game with Nadia than playing it by myself. I don't even think I have played it by myself, so I can't even say it's a good experience by myself. I maybe play like one run by myself. Anyways, this game is insane. So fucking good. I was kind of like, yeah, this game's cool too, because there were so many games. Emu and Sega were just killing it this year, because they had Marvel Cosmic Invasion and they had Ninja Gaiden Rage Bound, and then they had this, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, and this game looks kind of cool too, you know. But being the original IP, maybe you don't realize, you don't see in the midst of the Summer Games Fest that like, oh no, this is the shit. Like this is like really, really, really good, like really damn good. Doesn't quite have the insane amount of dialogue branches as say Hades does, but I also think that doesn't really matter in the long run. It's still got an interesting story. It's still fun, even if it doesn't have quite the density and lore that say Hades does. But it's also a beat 'em up, because like when you die in Abselum, you don't feel defeated the way you do in Hades. You're very much like, all right, I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna get back up. Give me one more round. I want my run back right now. So again, not even not an expensive game, but a game that's going to keep you entertained for many, 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 many hours. And just like with other things like Hades, even beating the game isn't beating the game, because then there's always something extra to do, something added in. Like the game just keeps going a little further, a little further. Loved this game. This game is absolutely one of the best games of the year. You got to play Abselum if you've ever had. This is basically whatever Sega's doing with the Golden Axe on their revival projects. They're in trouble, because this game, like Shinobi, is the Shinobi you thought you saw in your head. This is the Golden Axe you wish you got, which takes Golden Axe and Capcom's Dungeons and Dragons beat 'em ups and Hades, and it just kind of again does for the genre what's never been done before, and basically ups the bar. This raises the bar. So Streets of Rage 4 already raised the bar super high, and now we have Abselum, which now just raised it way beyond even that. So it's kind of like crazy to think we got something that just. I just took the genre by storm, and I just made, and maybe in a way this is maybe the best game of the year. I know for Digital Foundry it was, and I kind of agree with them. I get it. This is just, man, this is one of those games where it's like, yeah, we're in 2025, and a belt scroller, side scrolling beat 'em up game is absolutely one of, if not the best games of the year. But yeah, this is just the best in this genre kind of thing, like crazy good game. If you haven't played it, because it's a new IP, I know there's hesitation there, but trust me, this is as good as beat 'em ups will ever get. Until maybe there's an Abselum 2 or something. But yeah, I loved this game. And that does lead me to my number one, which, if you know me, I've been saying it already, and that is, I hate the name so much, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Like a Pirate was right there. I have no idea why they didn't go for it, but yeah, Yakuza is a long-running series. There's been 8, 9 mainline games and many, many spin-offs and remakes and remasters and what have you. And they even switched genres up a little bit. But yeah, my number one game of the year was Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, and I'm going to refer to it as Like a Pirate from this point forward, because of I want to. in whatever short amount of time the dev team for this game, which I believe was people who did Man Who Erased His Name, God, another long title, whatever short amount of time they made this game, they somehow outclassed every other 3D pirate-based video game with just a really good, easy to understand, easy, fun to use naval combat, and then shipboarding. And the other thing they did is they took the real-time combat of the past Yakuza games, and they finally started adding some sauce into it, and mostly by having aerial combos and stuff like that, along with the style switching. They've had style switching, but they've never had like crazy aerial combat. But yeah, this game kind of does everything. I've never laughed so hard on a game. I've never been so wonderfully entertained by a video game. Like just a game just made me smile, made me laugh as hard as this game has. And I loved every minute of it, because it just balances this really insanely goofy, okay, we're we're pirate ships, but not like modern day pirates. We're like 1700s pirates, but we're in modern day, and we have like there's a place called Madlantis, where there's a pirate coliseum where you have ship to ship battles. There's a plot line that involves a lost pirate treasure, and like a sort of fountain of youth kind of thing going for it. And then there's a kraken, and then there's all these other things going on in Honolulu as well. And just there's island hopping treasure, island hopping, treasure hunting, Coliseum, pirate ship Coliseum battles, like this game and everything. It opens with a musical number in the vein of Muppets Treasure Island and ends with a dance sequence straight out of a DreamWorks movie. This is a video game, knows what it is, knows it's both absurd and crazy, but also can have fun, heartfelt moments as well. And it feels good to play. The combat finally feels fun. You assemble a crew, and then you organize them and maximize their potential. You send them into raid battles with you. You fight alongside them, level them all up. Like there's so much content in this game on top of the usual content of classic Sega arcade games, Sega Master System games, and then they put like crazy pirate spins on old classics like the batting cages and stuff. And you just have the best game of the year. You just have the best game of the year. Like this is the most fun, the most entertaining, this put the most smile on my face. Like I don't smile very often while playing video games, but Like a Pirate is a game that just made me grin from ear to ear and chuckle, and just this. I love this game. There's so much you can do. Some of it is pulled from other Yakuza games, like taking trying to get taking the Sega trivia quiz and doing the other quiz for other worldwide stuff. Like, the game also really works because the main character gets amnesia at the beginning of the game, is starting completely fresh. You can play this game and not have played any Yakuza game, so it's completely standalone in a way almost no Yakuza outside like 0 or 1 really is. And you don't really have to worry about anything. Like it's just wonderful. It's beautiful. I loved this game. I recommend this game wholeheartedly. This is the most fun I had with any video game this year, just looking back on it. And again, the music being what it is with this, again, we have crazy like I said, like classic movie musical style opening number, dance music number ending, all the hidden Sega music in it, all the other crazy battle music. This is the best game I played this year. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Can't wait to see what RGG Studios comes up with next. But this was the most fun I had playing video games this year, bar none. So those are my top 10 games of the year, which are going to be different from everyone else's, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think. Let me see what everyone else's top 10 and really, frankly, how many people liked the game more than Expedition 33 this year? That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, there's my top 10 list. Let me know what you think.